Let's say you wake up tomorrow in ancient Rome. Not the clean marble white Rome from the movies. The one with soaring columns and dramatic music and perfectly fitted togas. The real one. The first thing that hits you is the smell. Rome in 100 AD was home to more than 1 million people, the first city in history to ever reach that number. 1 million people with no sewage system you'd recognize means one thing. The streets smell like rotting fish, wet stone, animal dung, and something sweetly chemical you can't quite place. That last one is urine. Romans collected urine in clay pots on street corners. The ammonia made it an excellent detergent for washing wool and tanning leather. In some neighborhoods, it was illegal to dump waste directly in the street, but enforcement was thin, and your shoes are already telling you how thin. You step outside and the noise is immediate. Rome in daylight was deafening. Julius Caesar himself banned wheeled carts from the city during daylight hours because the constant rattling of wooden wheels on stone pavement made it impossible to work or sleep. The solution? The carts came back at night, which meant sleeping in Rome wasn't much easier. You're staying in an insula, a Roman apartment block, several stories tall, packed wall to wall on every block of the city. The higher your floor, the poorer you are. Not because of the view, because there are no elevators, no running water above the ground level, and the upper floors are the first to collapse when the building's cheap mortar starts to give way. This happened with some regularity. Rome had no building code that meant very much in practice. The ground floor of an insula was for shops and businesses. The second floor was for people who could pay real rent. Above that, you were stacking in with whoever else couldn't do better. Landlords rented out these upper spaces in shifts. Not by the month, by the bed, by the day. Nobody wanted to live above the second floor, but nobody could always choose. By the third hour of the day, roughly what we'd call 9 a.m., since Romans divided daylight into 12 equal hours that shortened or lengthened with the seasons, the city is fully awake. You follow the crowd toward the Forum Romanum. The Forum is the center of everything. Commerce, politics, law, worship, gossip. It is packed. Lawyers are arguing cases in front of columns. Merchants are calling prices. A senator's slave pushes through the crowd ahead of a litter carrying someone too important to walk, and nobody particularly moves for them. A vendor near the arch hands you a cup of pasca, vinegar mixed with water. It tastes like something between pickle juice and a mild punishment. But this is what Roman soldiers marched on for centuries, what laborers drank in the fields, and what common people consumed when wine was too expensive, because the acidity killed pathogens in a world with no refrigeration and no clean water guarantee. You find a thermopolium on the corner, a fast food counter built directly into the wall, with stone holes holding terracotta jars of warm food. Almost nobody in Rome cooked at home. Fire risk in the upper floors of the insulae was so severe that cooking was banned above the first level. So everyone ate out, every day. Your options: lentil soup, flatbread with olive oil, salted olives, and a thick paste made from fermented fish intestines called garum. Garum was everywhere in Rome. It was the ketchup, the soy sauce, and the stock cube of the ancient world. Romans poured it into eggs, onto vegetables, into wine, over grilled meat, into porridge. It smelled like something had died somewhere near the ocean, and somehow, inexplicably, tasted extraordinary. You add it to the bread. It doesn't kill you. Around the 6th hour, the city slows. Romans understood that working through the midday heat was for people with no choice. Most businesses closed, the streets thinned, and everyone who could went to the baths. The thermae were not simply a place to wash. They were the Roman version of a gym, a library, a social club, and a place to conduct business, avoid enemies, and accidentally meet your enemy's business partner. Admission cost almost nothing. Sometimes it was free. The baths of Caracalla, completed in 216 AD, could handle 8,000 bathers at once. The entrance alone would stop you in your tracks. Marble flooring, vaulted ceilings 40 meters high, rooms of different temperatures, the frigidarium for cold plunging, the tepidarium for a warm transition, the caldarium for steam and heat. There is no soap here. You coat your skin in olive oil, work it into the steam, and use a curved metal blade called a strigil to scrape the oil and dead skin off. It sounds worse than it is. You emerge from the baths feeling remarkably clean and looking slightly boiled. Someone near you mentions the races have started at the Circus Maximus. You follow the sound of the crowd before you even know where you're going. The Circus Maximus holds 250,000 people. the largest sports venue ever constructed in all of human history, a record that still stands. Inside, the noise is something for which no description exists. The track is 600 meters long. Chariots run 7 laps, 4 horses pulling at full speed, drivers wrapped in reins around their torsos so they can be dragged to death if they crash and can't cut themselves free in time. The turns around the central spine are where everything happens. Drivers aim for the exact edge of the turning post, and the centimeters between success and catastrophe are measured in split seconds. The best of them were celebrities bigger than any gladiator, backed by racing factions with colors the city chose like religion: blues, greens, reds, whites. Gaius Apuleius Diocles raced for 24 years and won 1,362 out of 4,257 races, earning an amount scholars estimate at roughly $15 billion in today's equivalent. He came from a small town in what is now Portugal. He retired instead of dying. That, in the circus, was the real victory. You watch 3 races. You have no idea who to cheer for, so you cheer with whoever is louder, and by the end of the 3rd lap, you would die for the greens. As the sun falls, the city changes. After dark, Rome had no street lighting. The roads dropped into near total black. The wealthy moved through the streets in torchlit processions. Slaves carrying lanterns ahead and guards walking close behind. Everyone else moved fast, in groups, and stayed on main roads. You make it back to your insula as the carts start rolling in from the countryside. Wooden wheels on stone, the exact sound Caesar tried to ban, echoing up every alley. A vendor at the corner is selling roasted chickpeas out of a clay pot by the light of a small tallow candle. You buy a handful. They cost almost nothing. They taste exactly like what you needed. You climb the stairs to your borrowed room and lie down in the noise and the dark. And this is the thing about one day in ancient Rome. It is not what the textbooks give you. The marble and the columns are real, but they're surrounded by wet laundry strung between buildings, stray dogs in the waste at the curb, and someone 3 floors up shouting about the price of grain. Rome is not a monument. Rome is a million ordinary people living ordinary lives inside the most ambitious experiment in scale that the ancient world ever attempted. It lasted 5 centuries because it figured out something almost no civilization managed before it or since. It took people from every corner of the known world, different languages, different gods, different ideas about everything, and gave them roads, baths, law, and bread. Not by making them the same, by giving them something shared. You fall asleep to the sound of wheels on stone and somebody's argument 2 floors down. You wake up tomorrow in your own room. It is quiet. It smells like nothing in particular. And somehow, completely irrationally, that feels like something is missing.